You can wake up in a quiet house and still feel as if the day has already started without you. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind may already be moving through messages, laundry meals, appointments, and the small things nobody else seems to remember. That is where slow living can become practical. For many women over 40, the goal is not to escape real life. It is to create a calmer home where the day feels less rushed. Fewer small demands compete for your attention, and you do not have to treat every unfinished task like an emergency. These 9 habits are small enough to start today. The first habit is almost deliberately unimpressive. Begin your day 5 minutes slower. Not 30 minutes, not an hour, 5. You do not need to wake before sunrise. Journal 3 pages, stretch, meditate, prepare a beautiful breakfast, and somehow become a completely different person before anyone else gets up. Just give the first few minutes of your morning a little more room. Sit on the edge of the bed before standing. Open the curtains. Drink some water. Let the kettle heat without using those 90 seconds to unload the dishwasher. Stand at the window long enough to notice what kind of morning it is. The important part is not what you do. It is what you do not immediately begin doing. You do not immediately start catching up. You do not treat waking up like the starting bell for a race. A few slower minutes will not transform the entire day, and they do not need to. They simply give you a softer beginning before responsibilities start arriving. If 5 minutes feels unrealistic on a busy morning, make it 2. The number is not the point. The point is creating a small space between waking up and becoming available to everyone and everything. That is one reason practical slow living habits can feel more sustainable than complicated routines. They do not ask you to build a new life before breakfast. They simply change one small part of the pace you already live at. The second habit is to leave your phone alone for those first few minutes. For many of us, the phone is where the outside world enters the room. A work message, a family group chat, a news alert, a delivery update, a reminder, someone asking a question you now feel responsible for answering. None of these things are automatically bad, but once the screen is open, your attention can move from your own morning into other people's priorities very quickly. So try leaving it face down, or across the room, or simply untouched while you wash your face, make a drink, open the curtains, or feed the dog. This does not have to become a strict digital detox. You do not need a rule that says you can never look at your phone before a certain time. The habit is much simpler than that. Let yourself arrive in the day before the day starts asking things from you. This is where simple living becomes more than owning fewer objects. Sometimes simplicity means allowing fewer inputs into one moment, one room, one cup of tea, one quiet morning, one thing at a time. The third habit is to finish one area before moving to another. This sounds basic until you notice how easily home tasks spread. You pick up a mug in the living room and carry it to the kitchen. You notice crumbs on the counter, so you wipe them. Then you remember there is laundry in the machine. On the way there, you see clothes on a chair. You move those, notice something that belongs in the bedroom, and 20 minutes later, you have touched 6 tasks without getting the feeling that anything is actually complete. That can make the house feel endless, even when you have been moving the entire time. Instead, choose one visible finish line, not the whole kitchen. The kitchen table, not the entire bedroom. The dresser, not all the laundry. One basket. When possible, stay with that small area until it is done. Of course, real life interrupts. Someone may call you. You may remember something important. A child, partner, pet, or work message may change your plan. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to reduce how many half-finished tasks are asking for your attention at the same time. One finished surface can feel very different from 5 half-started jobs. A table can simply be a table again. A basket can be finished. A corner can stop reminding you that something still needs to happen there. You do not need the whole house to be complete before you are allowed to feel finished with one thing. The fourth habit is to eat at least one meal without a screen. Not because every meal needs to become a meaningful ritual. Not because lunch needs candles, special dishes, or 30 uninterrupted minutes. Just choose one meal where you are not also scrolling, watching, answering, reading, or trying to catch up. Sit down if you can. Notice the food while it is still warm. Look out the window. Listen to the sounds of the room. Let one ordinary activity remain one activity. This may feel strangely unproductive if you are used to combining everything. Eating while answering messages, folding laundry while listening to something, cleaning while making tomorrow's plan, walking while checking email. There is nothing wrong with doing two things at once sometimes. The problem is when every pause turns into another opportunity to fit something in. A screen-free meal gives the day one small place where you are not trying to get ahead. It is simple, it is ordinary, and that is exactly why it fits a realistic slow-living lifestyle. You are not trying to make life look peaceful. You are allowing one part of it to be less crowded. The fifth habit is to make one place in your home visibly available for rest. It might be a chair near a window, one end of the sofa, a place on the porch, a corner of the bedroom. It does not need to become a styled self-care corner. You do not need a new blanket, candle basket, side table, or anything else you feel tempted to buy because it looks peaceful online. In fact, the better question may be, what can you remove? Maybe the chair is holding clean laundry. Maybe the sofa has become the drop zone for bags and papers. Maybe the small table beside your favorite seat is covered with things waiting for a decision. Clear just enough space so sitting down becomes easy. Sometimes we say we want to rest, but the room around us keeps presenting small jobs. Move this, sort this, remember this, finish this. A peaceful home does not require every room to be calm at once. It helps to have one place that does not immediately ask you to do anything. And when you sit there, resist the urge to turn it into another workstation. Do not automatically bring the laptop. You do not have to make a list. You do not need to use the time well. Sit down. Let the room be imperfect. Let yourself be a person who lives in the home, not only the person who maintains it. The sixth habit is to reduce how many small decisions your home asks you to make. This is where intentional living becomes very practical. Think about how many tiny questions can appear in an ordinary day. Where does this go? What are we eating tonight? Where are the batteries? Which cleaning product should I use? What do I do with this paper? Do we have another one of these? Who is remembering that appointment? None of these questions is enormous, but when they keep arriving, they can make home management feel more mentally crowded. You do not need to organize every drawer. You do not need a complicated household system. Make the common decisions easier. Keep everyday items where you naturally use them. Choose a few reliable meals for busy days. Give frequently used objects one obvious home. If you own 6 versions of something but consistently use 2, consider whether the other 4 are helping. Use categories simple enough that you do not need to explain them every time. The goal is not to create the most organized house. The goal is to make the house easier to live in. A system that needs labels, special containers, constant correcting, and one person who remembers how everything works may be technically organized while still creating more work. A calmer home often needs fewer decisions, not more sophisticated decisions. The 7th habit is to use what you already own before automatically looking for something new. This can be one of the quietest forms of slow living. Before buying another organizer, look for a box already in the closet. Before buying a special container for leftovers, check whether the containers you have are actually the problem or whether there are simply too many without matching lids. Before starting a new home project, use the supplies from the last one. Before buying a product designed to solve one tiny household problem, ask whether something you already own can do the same job. This is not about denying yourself things you enjoy. It is not about keeping broken objects. And it is not about turning frugality into another standard you have to live up to. Sometimes buying something new genuinely makes life easier, but sometimes a purchase solves a 5-minute inconvenience by giving you an object that then needs to be stored, cleaned, refilled, maintained, moved, or eventually decluttered. Using what you already have slows that cycle down. It gives ordinary things permission to simply be useful. The bowl does not need to match a new kitchen style. The basket does not need to be the exact shade you saw online. The chair does not need to belong in a perfectly styled room. If it works, let it work. A home can become simpler not only through removing things, but also through asking fewer new things to enter. The 8th habit is to give housework an ending time. This one can feel uncomfortable if your usual stopping point is when everything is done, because everything is almost never done. There is always another load of laundry. Another surface, another drawer, another floor, another item that could be sorted, wiped, folded, moved, or prepared for tomorrow. If the house decides when you are finished, the work can keep expanding into the entire evening. Instead, choose a recognizable stopping point. Maybe routine housework ends after dinner, maybe at 8 o'clock, maybe 30 minutes before you want to sit down. The exact time matters less than the fact that there is an ending. When it arrives, finish the small thing already in your hands if you need to. Then stop starting new jobs. Leave the extra load. Leave the cabinet you suddenly noticed. Leave the pile that has survived until now and can survive until tomorrow. This is not neglecting your home. It is deciding that routine housework does not have to fill every available minute. If you are used to being the person who notices what still needs doing, the hardest part may not be physically sitting down. It may be seeing something unfinished and choosing not to respond to it immediately. You may still notice the laundry. You may still see the counter. The task is visible, but it is no longer active. There is a difference. The 9th habit is to finish the day with one gentle reset. The word gentle is important. This is not another cleaning session. It is not the moment to reorganize a cabinet, deep clean the kitchen, or catch up on everything you did not complete earlier. A useful reset is small enough that you can still do it on a tired evening. Clear the main counter. Put cups in the sink or dishwasher. Fold the blanket on the sofa. Put tomorrow's keys where you can find them. Return 1 or 2 obvious things to their places. Then stop. Think of it as making tomorrow morning slightly easier, not making tonight perfectly complete. If your evening reset takes 25 minutes and requires a checklist, it may have quietly turned into another job. Try 5 minutes. Try 3. The purpose is not to prepare the house for inspection. It is to leave yourself a softer starting point for tomorrow. And when that small reset is done, let the day close. There may still be a pan in the sink. Laundry may still be waiting. A room may still look lived in. Nothing has gone wrong. The home is simply between one day and the next. The point of these habits is not to become a slower version of someone who still tries to do everything. It is to stop making peace depend on finishing everything first. A calmer life at home can begin with very ordinary choices. 5 quieter minutes in the morning. A phone that waits. 1 area finished instead of 5 started. 1 meal that does not compete with a screen. A chair that is actually available for sitting. Fewer household decisions. More use of what you already own. A clear ending to housework. A small reset that does not become a second shift. You do not need to begin all 9 today. Choose the one that removes pressure from the part of your day that feels most crowded. If mornings feel rushed, begin there. If the house keeps pulling you from task to task, finish 1 area. If the evening disappears into just 1 more thing, choose your stopping time. The best slow living habits are not the ones that look most beautiful on camera. They are the ones that make ordinary life easier to carry. That is the version worth keeping. Not slow as an aesthetic, not slow as another identity you have to perform. Just a home with fewer unnecessary demands, fewer decisions, and more moments when you are allowed to live inside your own life instead of constantly managing it. If this calmer, more realistic approach to home life is what you need right now, subscribe to Calm Her Daily. And tell me in the comments which of these 9 habits would make the biggest difference in your home this week. Start with that one. Let the rest wait.